Ever get the feeling that all this talk about change at work, like the big announcements and all those promises, it doesn't really amount to much?
Yeah, it's like they put more effort into the announcement than actually changing anything.
It's kind of funny, but also kind of frustrating.
Oh, absolutely. You see those motivational posters everywhere, but things stay pretty much the same.
And it's not just us. I mean, some studies say that like 70%, a huge chunk of those big company change efforts, they just don't work out the way they hope.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, are they missing something? Like, what's the secret sauce here?
That's what we're diving into today. You're listening to The Deep Dive.
Where we take a deep dive.
Exactly. We look at all sorts of stuff, books, articles, whatever, and try to pull out the really useful bits, the stuff that can help us understand these tricky topics.
And today?
Today, it's all about change. We're looking at this book, Leadership, Saving the Herd, by Dr. Mary Lippitt.
Okay, leadership. I'm intrigued already. Is this like a business book disguised as a children's story?
Kinda, but in a really smart way. It's a fable, like those stories with animals that teach you a lesson.
Got it. So what's the lesson here? What can sheep teach us about change management?
Well, it's all about this sheepdog, Charlie, and her herd. They're facing this huge crisis, their pasture's drying up, and they have to find a new place to live.
Sounds kind of dire for some sheep.
It is, and that's the point. The book uses this simple story to show why change can be so hard and how to make it actually work.
So instead of a dry business textbook, we get a story about sheep. I like it.
Yeah, it's surprisingly engaging. And the cool thing is, Dr. Lippitt is actually going to be on the Tech Reads podcast talking about the book in detail.
Oh, cool. That's the one hosted by Brian Schwartz, right?
The one and only. It's sponsored by Softtech, and they're doing a live recording on Thursday, March 27th.
March 27th. Got it. What time?
Noon Pacific time.
Perfect for a lunch break listen. So is this just an online thing, or can people actually go in person?
Both. They're doing it in San Luis Obispo, but you can also join via Zoom.
Awesome. A chance to actually ask Dr. Lippitt some questions. I'm sure people will have a lot after reading Leadersheep.
Definitely. So mark your calendars, folks. March 27th, Tech Reads podcast with Dr. Mary Lippitt. Now let's get back to the book itself.
All right, back to the sheep. What's the story really about?
So, like I said, this herd is in trouble. Their pasture's drying up. No food. Pretty bad situation.
Yeah, that's a sheep's worst nightmare.
Right. They're facing starvation. And this sheepdog, Charlie, she finds this amazing new meadow across a river.
Sounds like the perfect solution.
You'd think so, but of course it's not that easy. The sheep, they're not exactly thrilled about swimming across a river.
Makes sense. New territory. Could be dangerous. I'd be hesitant too.
Exactly. And the book does a great job of showing how change, even when it's clearly needed, can be scary.
It's like that saying, better the devil you know.
Right. But Charlie and the leaders of the herd, they can't just force the sheep to go. So they have to figure out a way to address those fears.
Like, how do they convince them it's going to be okay?
Well, they start by actually listening to the sheep's concerns. They're worried about predators in the new meadow. They're scared of drowning in the river. Some even worry about losing their place in the herd.
Wow, that's deep for a bunch of sheep. But I guess those are pretty basic fears for anyone facing a big change, right?
Totally. And the leaders, they take those fears seriously. Charlie, the sheepdog, she scouts out the new meadow to make sure it's safe. They even organize swimming lessons for the sheep.
Swimming lessons for sheep? That's hilarious.
Right. But it's also brilliant. It's about building confidence, showing them they can handle the change.
I like that. It's not just about telling them to change. It's about giving them the tools to actually do it.
And then there's this group of younger sheep, the yearlings. They're a bit more adventurous.
Ah, the young ones, always eager to shake things up.
Exactly. And they actually go check out the new meadow and come back with glowing reports about how great it is.
Word of mouth, right. Sometimes that's the best advertising.
Totally. Seeing those young ones thrive in the new place, it starts to change the minds of the older sheep. They start to see that maybe, just maybe, this change isn't so bad after all.
So there's hope for the old sheep yet.
There is. And that's where the book gets even more interesting. The second part is called the Change Framework, and it lays out a 5-step plan for making change happen.
Okay, so they go from a story about sheep to a practical guide.
Exactly. Dr. Lippitt takes the lessons from the fable and turns them into actionable steps.
So what are these 5 steps?
Well, we don't have time to go into all the details here, but they cover things like defining the change you want to make, getting everyone on board, giving people the skills they need.
Sounds like a good recipe for avoiding that 70% failure rate we talked about earlier.
That's the idea. And if you want the full scoop, you know where to go. The Tech Reads podcast with Dr. Lippitt on March 27th.
Definitely. Now, I'm curious, did the book get any good reviews? I mean, from actual experts, not just sheep.
Oh yeah, it got some serious praise. People like Chip Arbell, David M.R. Covey, Marshall Goldsmith, they all loved it.
Those are some big names in the leadership world. What did they say about it?
They call it insightful, practical, and a masterful blend of storytelling and leadership principles. Pretty impressive, right?
Definitely. So it's not just a cute story. It's actually got some real substance to it.
Exactly. And the dedication of the book is really special, too. It's dedicated to Dr. Lippitt's father and brother, Gordon and Ron Lippitt, who were pioneers in the field of organizational development.
Oh, wow. So she's carrying on a family legacy here.
It seems like it. She's taken those years of experience and expertise and presenting them in a way that's both fun and useful.
I like that. So for anyone out there who's dealing with change, whether at work or even in their personal lives, this book sounds like it could be really helpful.
Absolutely. And remember, you can hear more from Dr. Lippitt herself on the Tech Reads podcast on March 27th.
San Luis Obispo or Zoom, your choice. Noon Pacific time. Be there or be square.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And as you go about your day, think about this. What's one change you're facing right now, big or small? How would you explain that change if you were telling it as a fable, like with animals or something?
It's a good exercise, right? Sometimes stripping away all the complexity can help you see the heart of the issue. And who knows, you might even come up with a brilliant solution, just like those clever sheep.
Maybe we all need to think a little more like sheepdogs. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.
Until next time.